We are struggling right now as a movement to open up the necessary field offices to compete against Joe Biden.
Yes, you are, Charlie Kirk. The MAGA fan base seems to be slowly acknowledging the fact that the Trump campaign is completely incompetent and that maybe they shouldn't have chosen a criminal, someone who is in the middle of all of these trials, to run a presidential campaign. Because we've seen Donald Trump spend a lot of time, energy, and money on this trial and diverting resources away from his campaign and other down ballot races. So Charlie Kirk takes the words out of my mouth. Biden and his campaign have been opening up all of these different field offices across all of these different swing states. They've been fundraising massive amounts of money. Biden's been giving these great speeches. Meanwhile, Donald Trump looks more and more unhinged by the day. Now, I could go through all of the exact numbers of the field offices, but the great thing is Charlie Kirk is about to do it for me in this clip. First, make sure you leave a like, make sure you comment a blue heart, and subscribe. Roll this clip of Charlie Kirk coming to this realization that MAGA might be doomed.
We had Citizen Kane on here, and this is, the Trump campaign is working really hard to fix Rana's mistake. Susie Wiles, Chris LaSavita, they're doing a great job of trying to fix what Rana left them. But here are the numbers, and the numbers are worth reporting. In the state of Georgia, Joe Biden has 14 field offices. In the state of Pennsylvania, Joe Biden has 14 field offices. In the state of Michigan, Joe Biden has 20 field offices. In the state of Wisconsin, Joe Biden has 44 field offices. In the state of Arizona, Joe Biden has 8 field offices. In Nevada, Joe Biden has 2 field offices. Between all of them, Joe Biden has 450 full-time people on staff in 9 states, and all 9 out of 9 swing state directors. Now, based on all of our data, we do not believe Donald Trump has a single field office in any one of those states yet open. I'm sure they're trying to fix that. And he has 5 staffers. So Joe Biden has 450 people. We have 5, and 2 out of 9 of the swing state directors have been hired. Now, thankfully, we at Turning Point Action, we have well over 100 people now chasing ballots in Arizona, trying to close that gap. And that does not count Joe Biden's advertising advantage. It does not count his ability to control the mainstream media. I said this and people laughed. I said 6 months ago, Joe Biden is a formidable candidate, and people laughed. I said it's because of the infrastructure around him.
Not to mention that Joe Biden already beat Donald Trump. Biden has shown his electoral strength repeatedly in the 2020 and 2024 primaries and the 2020 general election. MAGA seems to be making this mistake of thinking that this will turn out like 2016, but what they don't realize is that Joe Biden is not Hillary Clinton. Now, I love Hillary Clinton, but after decades of manufactured Republican propaganda about how evil she is, of course it would be a lot easier to beat her than somebody like Joe Biden. But once again, Joe Biden is not Hillary Clinton. Joe Biden shows a lot of strength with minority groups in key swing states. Joe Biden is known as the VP for Obama. Joe Biden is going to roll through Donald Trump in 2024 in this upcoming election, and MAGA is starting to realize it. Take a look at this clip of me on the Don Lemon Show talking about how Trump's trial will affect this upcoming election and this race.
Adam, as this stretches on, I want to know what you're looking at, and I wonder, if you can give us some insight at what you think the Biden administration is doing, how they're looking at this, because they must be sitting back going, well, our work is, pretty much done here. They're helping us. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, well, to touch back on the absolute immunity piece for a second, I'm glad we have a legal mind like Karen, because she knows all these niche French terms and can break down all these arguments way better than I can. But I mean, Jack Smith makes this great point where he cites President Ford pardoning President Nixon, and he says that Nixon accepting this pardon implies that both he and Ford knew that presidents are not immune to anything. And what you asked me is about President Biden. I think that they love this. I think it's coming at a critical time. I mean, ever since Biden's State of the Union, we've seen him.
Certainly took the Sleepy Joe away.
Oh yeah, and now it's Sleepy Don or Don Snorleone or whatever you want to call him. But now we see President Biden rising in the polls. He's edging out Trump in the polls. We see him raising historic amounts of money. We see him giving these speeches, and I think if you put them side by side, that's all you need to do. One of them is obviously a lot more unhinged, and one of them is maybe talks a little bit slower, but like everything he says is absolutely perfect in my opinion. And
not control himself, right?
Yeah, he can't. He likes to spin everything. And there's this weird theory that the Trump campaign hasn't really bought that much ad time or ad space in the past few months or the months coming up. So people think he's betting on this wall-to-wall coverage sort of being a part of his campaign, but I don't think it's going how he planned. I mean, Sleepy Don was trending on Twitter yesterday. We saw all of these pieces where he essentially was not performing how he was supposed to, and I think that is going to undermine a lot of this campaigning that he thought he would be doing in court.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Why not?
I'm not sure I agree with that, Adam, because this is the most number of cameras. His biggest audience will be this trial and others. Every time there's a break, every time it adjourns, he gets in front of those cameras and he says exactly what he wants to say. It is, what is it, earned media?
Yes, earned media.
It's earned
that he got
media
billions
that
of before in 2016.
he could not pay for this kind of coverage.
But
that's why I said I'm concerned about the way
Adam,
this is being
let Adam
covered.
finish your
but
thought.
go
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
yeah.
I cut you off.
I think he comes off as so unhinged in some of these appearances on camera, and I think like the Sleepy Don thing, which undermines the months of Sleepy Joe, the years of Sleepy Joe propaganda that he tried to spread. So this idea, I mean, I remember his campaign director yesterday sent a tweet showing, he said wall-to-wall coverage, which kind of seems like that's what they were planning on. They were planning on this wall-to-wall coverage helping out his campaign. And again, back to my point, I'm not sure it's working out how he wanted it to. I mean, of course, it'll play to his core fans who eat up everything he says. I mean, I talk to these people on the field a lot, but I mean, to like independents or to the broader population, I'm not sure this case looks as good as he wants it to look. I thought it was cool to have a healthy disagreement with Don Lemon there, but the broader point is the Trump campaign really hasn't ramped up in the same way the Biden campaign has. I mean, they really haven't spent that much money on ads on TV or on social media in the next few months, and like I said there, it might be Donald Trump banking on this wall-to-wall coverage being part of his campaign, but when you see Sleepy Don trending on Twitter, it's not going how he planned whatsoever. It's undermining his campaign, actually. So as more and more MAGA pundits start to realize that the Trump campaign is totally incompetent and that the Biden campaign's overall competence will be why they win, I think we see them become increasingly more unhinged. I think they start coping, they start making excuses, and maybe even starting to resent Donald Trump a little bit for handing them multiple losses in a row.
I'm wondering about the sleeping, if that was a strategy, okay, to show his supporters that I'm so uninterested in this, I'm so beyond this, that I'm not even paying attention, I'm going to fall asleep. This is boring me. Adam?
I think when you stay up all night sending True Social posts about Michael Cohen or about FISA warrants, then yeah, you're going to fall asleep in court. And if I'm going to be as charitable as possible, I mean, he is an old dude. The process is probably pretty boring. I mean, it's probably not that unusual for someone to fall asleep, but it really reminds me of when I was in high school a few years ago and I had a detention for being tardy or whatever.
Oh my God.
And when you're in those detentions, you get the urge to be more of a nuisance, essentially, right? And I think Donald Trump has that same juvenile urge to be a nuisance and to rebel against authority. And I think we're going to see him become increasingly unhinged on True Social as this trial goes on. Let me know what you guys think about the Trump campaign and MAGA as a whole totally imploding in front of our eyes. I mean, we see the fringes in Congress like Marjorie Taylor Greene essentially holding the rest of the Republican Congress members and all of the Congress members hostage. Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying she will oust Speaker of the House Mike Johnson if he passes this Ukraine aid, and Speaker of the House Mike Johnson has started to push back against that. Watch this clip of Mike Johnson finally coming to his senses and understanding the importance of Ukraine. A broken clock is right twice a day, but honestly, I really respected what he said in this clip despite not respecting Mike Johnson that much.
I'm doing here what I believe to be the right thing. I think providing lethal aid to Ukraine right now is critically important. I really do. I really do believe the intel and the briefings that we've gotten that I believe Xi and Vladimir Putin and Iran really are an axis of evil. I think they're in coordination on this. I think that Vladimir Putin would continue to march through Europe if he were allowed. I think he might go to the Balkans next. I think he might have a showdown with Poland or one of our NATO allies. To put it bluntly, I would rather send bullets to Ukraine than American boys. My son is going to begin in the Naval Academy this fall. This is a live fire exercise for me, as it is so many American families. This is not a game. It's not a joke. We can't play politics of this. We have to do the right thing. And I'm going to allow an opportunity for every single member of the House to vote their conscience and their will on this. And I think that's the way this institution is supposed to work. And I'm willing to take personal risk for that because we have to do the right thing, and history will judge us.
Mike Johnson stole my talking points, but if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, make sure to comment a blue heart and subscribe, and most importantly, have a great day.